Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, President Obama announces a multi-million-dollar project to study the human brain, and San Diego researchers will play a major role.
I'm Peggy Pico. Also ahead, Governor Brown appoints 5 San Diego leaders to help defend against military budget cuts. What's at stake for local defense companies, big and small? Then my conversation with Father Joe Carroll about receiving a Heroes Award in Washington, D.C.
Drones could become big business for San Diego, but there are worries about privacy. We'll continue our look at the debate. And hundreds of sea lions are stranding themselves on land. Scientists are trying to solve the mystery. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. San Diego researchers will play a major role in a new initiative announced today by President Obama. It's called the Brain Initiative, a project to map the human brain. Scientists at Salk Institute will look at the brain's neural networks and figure out how they interact to understand how the brain operates.
As humans, we can identify galaxies light years away. We can study particles smaller than an atom, but we still haven't unlocked the mystery of the 3 pounds of matter that sits between our ears. So there's this enormous mystery waiting to be unlocked.
Scientists say the project could eventually help find cures for diseases like Alzheimer's. The president will ask Congress for $100 million next year to fund the Brain Initiative. $28 million is slated for the Salk Institute. A lawsuit over Junior Seau's suicide is being consolidated with other cases over concussions in the NFL. They're scheduled to be heard in Philadelphia next week. Seau's family says the former linebacker took violent hits throughout his career, resulting in a traumatic brain injury and depression, leading to his suicide nearly a year ago. The other lawsuits say the NFL hid the dangers of repeated blows to the head. The league denies it. Waits at the border may not get any worse than usual anytime soon. The Customs and Border Protection Agency says forced employee furloughs have been postponed as part of the federal sequestration cutbacks, at least for the time being. Frontiers reporter Adrian Florido joins us from the News Center with the update. The agency had warned of longer border waits, Adrian, and fewer agents patrolling the border as early as this week. Is that no longer a concern?
Well, at least for now. In a memo over the weekend, a top official at the agency said that an appropriations bill signed by the president last week had given CBP more flexibility to reduce the impacts of budget cuts on the agency's workforce. So it looks like all the doomsday projections about the sequester aren't coming to pass, at least yet.
And how are employees responding to the news?
Well, unions representing the agency's employees said the postponement was good news, obviously. But they also are warning that the postponement is just temporary. And as we've seen with these budget negotiations, lawmakers have been resorting to a lot of stopgap measures that let them sort of kick the can down the road in terms of resolving the budget impasse. So employees of the border agency are being warned by their unions that cuts could still be in their future.
KPBS Fronteras reporter Adrian Florido. We have more coverage online at fronterasdesk.org. Homeland Security Department says it expects demand for H-1B visas to outpace supply within a few days. These are the visas for high-skilled workers, especially in the tech industry. The application period opened yesterday. 85,000 visas are available for the 2014 budget year. Congress is making plans to increase the number. Governor Jerry Brown recently named 5 San Diego leaders to a new military council. Peggy Pico has details on the council's strategy to stave off budget cuts and base closures.
The San Diego Military Council members are charged with protecting the state and county's military economy. Mark Cafferty, president of the San Diego Regional Economic Development Corporation, joins me with more at What's at stake? Welcome.
Thanks, Peggy.
I want to start out by saying Governor Brown said he established this council because as federal priorities shift to cybersecurity and new military technology, this council will work to expand defense industry jobs and investment in California. What kinds of technology specific to San Diego could he be talking about?
Yeah, we are thrilled that the governor is doing this, and we think he's taking a great step for the state and for the region. As he speaks about that, all of it bodes quite well for San Diego. Cybersecurity is densely a part of San Diego's economy. People have heard a lot lately about the unmanned systems that we have in San Diego, but even just the traditional telecommunications and biotechnology that's so critical to San Diego's economy is critical to this effort.
In the unmanned being the drones, we've heard a lot about that, but the cybersecurity we haven't heard a whole lot about. Tell us about what sort of cybersecurity companies are in San Diego.
No doubt about it. We have some of the world's leaders here, ESET being one that's right downtown in San Diego and is very prominent. What the new defense plan tells us is that not only is there a pivot to the Pacific, which bodes well for San Diego, but that cybersecurity and unmanned systems are going to be two such critical parts of warfare and defense and information gathering in the future. And having those industries here in San Diego so close to the largest military installation in the country is perfectly positioning San Diego for the future. And
they're working with the Department of Defense on national issues.
Hand in hand, absolutely.
Okay, I want to get back to the 5 council members from San Diego. I want to introduce people to who they are. Okay. Anthony Jackson, Dennis Kennelly, James Johnson, and Mary Lyons, and retired Marine Colonel and Assembly Republican from Oceanside, Rocky Chavez, who told us earlier today about this, that we might be a little bit protected. Let's listen to what he has to say.
The last go-around, the Army and the Navy took some pretty significant hits in the Central and Northern California. I think in Southern California, with the emphasis shifting to the Pacific right now, and we'll probably see the San Diego still being protected.
So he's talking about this Pacific Rim focus, where 60% of the Navy operations are supposed to be based on the West Coast. How would that really protect us?
It protects us in a lot of ways. I mean, again, the future of our defense plan is very different than it was in the past, and it is facing the Pacific. And San Diego's geography alone and the already established systems that we have here, combined with the fact that that plan focuses very heavily on Marine forces and naval forces and the technology we talked about, it all puts San Diego in a perfect position, but one that we just can't take for granted, one that we have to make sure that we're continuing to talk about and defend.
Let's talk about base closures. And we had one base closure earlier, quite a ways back. That turned out to be pretty good. But you've mentioned that maybe we don't want to keep saying that or going in that direction. How come?
I think the reality is there will be a round of realignment and closure, or what we commonly refer to as a BRAC process. San Diego has gone through that process multiple times in the past, sometimes faring better than other times. And I think what we want to make sure of is that we are planning and thinking about that process, and that this council that we're speaking about is helping to advise the governor on what that would mean to the state of California, so that we can speak with one voice when we're speaking back to Washington and speaking through the congressional reps.
The council, what can they actually do? There's 5 members from here. I'm supposing they're going to be looking out for the interest of San Diego, but there's the other members as well that make up for it. What would you like to see them do?
Well, they'll be looking out for the interests of the state, and to us that's perfect, because this is actually a statewide strategy. San Diego happens to be where 60 to 70% of all of our military assets in the state are, but this allows us to take a very large state, which oftentimes speaks with quite a splintered voice, and bring it together around one thing that is not only critical to the active duty, but to all the small businesses up and down the state that so critically rely on technology and defense in the military.
And certainly plenty of them here in San Diego.
Absolutely.
Mark Cafferty, thanks so much for this update.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
We continue our look tonight at the debate over drones, those unmanned aircraft some see as a new industry for San Diego. Others say drones could cost us our civil liberties. KPBS science and technology reporter David Wagner takes a look at San Diego's pilot-free future.
Imagine swarms of drones hovering over most of Southern California. The thought makes a lot of residents uneasy. But it's exactly what Sean Barr of the San Diego Regional Economic Development Corporation hopes to see. Barr has been working with a coalition of defense industry advocates to brand San Diego as the drone capital of the world. To ensure that drone makers put down stakes in San Diego, Barr and his allies are trying to convince the FAA to base a lucrative drone test site here. The range they're envisioning would be expansive, blanketing almost all of Southern California.
So it extends from the China Lake Edwards Air Force Base area west to the ocean, south to the Mexican border, and then east to the Arizona border.
Our 1/5 scale drone, it's got the 500-pound bombs.
When people like Dave Patterson of San Diego Veterans for Peace hear about BAR's plans, they don't picture a new economic golden age. They foresee an Orwellian police state.
If they're going to fly 10,000 drones around Southern California, what are they going to do with all that surveilling information?
The legal boundaries aren't clear yet, but BAR's coalition remains focused on securing drone jobs for San Diego. Similar efforts have been hatched in Nevada and in Oklahoma, and North Dakota and New York and Maryland and Massachusetts. The FAA has received over 50 test site proposals since February. BAR thinks San Diego can beat the competition. He estimates that about 7,000 local jobs are already dedicated to drones. Then there's San Diego's weather, ideal for year-round flight testing, not to mention its large military presence. With law enforcement, scientists, and farmers all coveting this technology, BAR thinks San Diego's drone economy is poised to double within this decade.
But there is an opportunity for it to grow significantly.
Representative Duncan D. Hunter sees that opportunity too. His district relies on jobs tied to two of the world's biggest drone developers, Northrop Grumman and General Atomics. During a recent visit to Northrop Grumman's Rancho Bernardo facilities, Congressman Hunter marveled at the futuristic machines being developed in San Diego.
Everybody's going to be looking to you and to be looking at us here to see what is the next thing. What's it going to be in 20 years? What's it going to be in 25 years? So we get to, Terminator 3 when we don't have to do anything.
The machines, they're starting to take over.
But frankly, that's probably where it's going.
And where it's going troubles the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties. Legal Director David Loy argues that drones aren't properly regulated yet, threatening our privacy, civil liberties, and even our lives.
We have very serious concerns about the government targeting American citizens for killing far from any battlefield without any form of due process at all.
Loy could be alluding to a 2011 drone strike in Yemen that killed Anwar al-Awlaki, a suspected al-Qaeda recruiter who also happened to be an American citizen. The ACLU argues that these targeted killings, reportedly responsible for hundreds of civilian deaths in the Middle East, set a dangerous precedent. Even local drone industry boosters like Congressman Hunter worry about this technology. Just after praising a crowd of Northrop Grumman employees, he said lawmakers urgently need to discuss what can and can't be done with drones.
Part of being an American is being able to do what you want to do without having people looking at you or questioning you. And I think that plays right into the UAV conflict that we're going to have, because, yes, it's going to be good for jobs. It could be steps forward in the way that we handle wildfires and the way that we have police chases and the way that we do a lot of things. But the downsides, especially when it comes to privacy, I think are fairly great.
San Diego Veterans for Peace have been protesting outside a General Atomics facility here in Poway every week for the last 7 months. One way they help bring this issue to life is by putting people in the crosshairs of a model Reaper drone.
And our Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights are going to go up in the cloud of drones if we're not careful.
Despite these concerns, Sean Barr's Economic Development Coalition says drone jobs are coming to the U.S. no matter what, and San Diego should be the region to reap the economic rewards. The ACLU's David Loy thinks that focusing on where drones are made is beside the point.
Wherever the drones are manufactured, the issue is how are they being used.
David Wagner, KPBS News.
After the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings in Connecticut, the National Rifle Association called for armed personnel at all schools. Now, a study sponsored by the NRA says schools should train and arm at least one staff member. It recommends federal funding and coordination of school safety efforts and says each school should have a threat assessment team working with mental health professionals. The American Federation of Teachers says the proposal won't keep schools safe. More about the NRA study is coming up on the PBS NewsHour at 7. President Obama is planning a trip to Connecticut next week to push Congress on gun control. He's also planning to go to Colorado, the site of last summer's movie theater shooting. And while Washington debates gun control, a city in Georgia has passed a law requiring gun ownership. It's called the Family Protection Ordinance. It requires gun ownership for every head of household in Nelson, Georgia. While the law says it's to ensure security, its backers say they're trying to make a point about gun rights. The law has no penalties, and the cities only lawman has no plans to enforce it.
No, sir, not really. Pretty much people have the option.
If they're going to say this one's not going to be enforced, which other ordinances are not going to be enforced?
The new law goes into effect in 10 days. Marine biologists say the problem of sick and starving sea lions could become worse this month. Close to 1,000 pups have been rescued along the California coast this year, more than 5 times the normal number. Rescuers are finding malnourished, underweight animals on shore, and they expect to find more because young sea lions are typically weaned in April.
Sea lions are typically born between May and August, usually around June. And when they're after they nurse from their mom, they go out and forage on their own. And we can expect to see a healthy animal weighing in at about 50 or 60 pounds. We've been seeing them as light as 20 or 25 pounds coming in.
Federal researchers are now looking into the problem. They're running tests to see if it's a disease, a lack of food, or both. The dark side of sunny summer days is embodied in a grim statistic. Drowning is the #1 killer of kids in San Diego. To reduce the numbers, Rady Children's Hospital is joining the American Red Cross and Safe Kids San Diego for a month-long series of events to educate the public about the danger of drowning.
Drowning is the leading cause of death due to unintentional injury in children birth to 14 years of age in San Diego County. Nationally, it's the 3rd leading cause of death.
April Pools events include CPR demonstrations and swim lessons at various pools around the county this month. You can find more information at kpbs.org. New research from UC San Diego says one good way to help kids lose weight might be to let them help themselves. Researchers studied 50 overweight children by giving them a manual, telling them to read a chapter a week and apply the skills at home. They went to a clinic for a weigh-in every 2 weeks, but that wasn't all. After the 5-month program, the kids lost an average of 5 pounds and kept it off for 6 months. Researchers say self-help may be just as effective as a clinic-based program for overweight kids. California lawmakers are considering a bill to provide more medical translators for Medi-Cal recipients. Supporters say patients with limited English skills risk getting misdiagnosed, and they say the number of patients who don't speak English is expected to increase next year when healthcare reform takes effect. A new state law could lead to more early detection of breast cancer. Doctors now have to let a woman know if they have dense breast tissue, which makes it harder to spot cancer on a mammogram. Women with dense tissue can request additional screening, such as an ultrasound. We first told you about Father Joe Carroll's trip to Washington last week to receive one of the nation's highest honors. Tonight, he talks with Peggy Pico about the experience and his work with poor people in San Diego.
Father Joe Carroll is well known throughout San Diego for developing and running the largest homeless support center in Southern California. Congress took notice. Recently, Father Joe became one of just 4 Americans this year to receive the Citizen Service Before Self Honors Medal from the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. Father Joe Carroll, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Peggy. It's great to be here.
There were 3 other citizens and you chosen from hundreds of nominations, heroes, as they called them, hero nominations from around the country. But when you retired in 2011, I recall you said no more awards. So what was it about this award that you said, I'll make an exception?
Well, you know, you say that and you mean it. And then Medal of Honor recipients, greatest American heroes we got, call you up and say, can we honor you? How can you say no to guys who saved other lives and are wounded? And I couldn't say no. And they just said, we just want to make you nominated. You're one of 120 people. And I figured, okay, the odds are I'm not going to get it. Then you get selected and they say, we want you to come to Washington. I mean, it's like, give me a break. You guys are heroes.
It was really something. We actually have video I want to show our audience to take a look at you actually, the moment you were getting this award. So here we're watching this sergeant put this medal around your neck. What went through your mind when he did this?
Well, he's a double amputee. Remember, he got the Congressional Medal of Honor. And as you see his mechanical hand struggling to put the medal on, I was sitting there almost in tears saying, why is he putting a medal on me? And then he says, Father Joe, you're a hero. I mean, and you're among 50 other Congressional Medal of Honor winners. It's like, I mean, to me, first it was going to be just another award. Then it kept going up in prestige and honor. And just having a guy with double amputees think the work I do is great.
I see a tear in your eye now, and I know you've said this was a humbling experience. Also, while you were there, you laid wreaths on the graves of the unknown soldier, and you've talked about this medal. Tell me what's represented on this medal.
Well, the three persons that are symbolized is peace, victory, and valor, and that's on the tomb of the unknown soldier. So that raises it even to another level. You have Congressional Medal of Honor winners giving it to you. They've tied into the tomb of the unknown soldier, which is like a very sacred place to us Americans. I mean, all of a sudden, this work that I do is, I take as a matter of fact, raise a whole new level. So it's been exciting.
Let's talk about your work. Over the past 30 years, first at St. Vincent de Paul and then later on Father Joe's Villages, have become...
And at Martha's Village and Kitchen up in
That's right, you've expanded.
Valley.
You've expanded. And these have become a template for other places across the U.S., actually. Remind us what programs you offer at these three different sites.
Well, what we decided to do way back 30 years ago is somehow come up with a program that is what I call one-stop shopping. We used to, homeless would come to us for some help. We'd send them somewhere else. And my concept was, why don't we have it all on one site so people in need, neighbors who are struggling, don't have to go walking all over town. So our goal over the last 30 years has been to keep expanding to provide everything. So we have medical, dental, job training, specialty skill training, child care, child psychiatry, parenting. I mean, you can name it, and we probably have it somewhere on site. And if we don't, we find you need it, we'll try to get it on site.
And this is quite a process. This isn't an overnight, oh, come and stay in a bed. This can take a couple of years.
It's a 2-year, ultimately, it's a 2-year potential program. One person may need 6 months, another person may need a year. Some people may need the full 2 years. But the idea is to bring about the change, make the change permanent, and then let you go out on your own. And so, and we maintain it's a first-class operation. So it's not just a shelter, not just meals. It is really literally a changing experience, to change your life completely.
With sequestration, budget cuts, the recession, what's the one thing you would like to see happen to move forward as far as move your ministry forward for the homeless here in San Diego?
Well, I think mainly to get people over the fear. People are fearful. They have, but they're afraid they might lose it because, the economy goes up, the stocks double, they go down. It's been driving us all crazy. But there are people worse off, and those of us who have, we need to be better at sharing it. We've cut 100 positions in the last couple of years, mainly because, so that affects the program. So we need to get those people back. We need the funds to do it. So those who have, give to those who have not. That's strictly an enabling thing to do. That's what the Medal of Honor is all about. I may not be called to run on a jump on a grenade or go to a firehouse, a house that's burning down and save somebody, but maybe if I send a check to St. Vincent de Paul, Father Joe's Villages. So Father Joe's Villages is taking advantage of the medal. They formed the Father Joe Neighbor Society to honor me for getting the medal. So my job is to figure out, make me look good, protect my heritage here.
Pay that forward, as they like to say. Well, Father Joe Carroll, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thanks. It's great to be on KPBS.
I'm Margaret Warner. On the next news hour, former Maine Senator Olympia Snowe on the lack of bipartisanship in Congress and the rebranding of the GOP. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
If you like today's weather, we've got more of the same ahead. Still cloudy along the coast with temperatures mostly in the 60s. A little warmer in the inland valleys with some sunshine. Sunny in the mountains where temperatures will reach the 70s tomorrow. Partly cloudy and 90s in the desert. Recapping tonight's top stories, President Obama is proposing a multi-million-dollar project to study the human brain. Researchers at the Salk Institute will be major players looking at the brain's neural networks. Scientists say the Brain Initiative could someday lead to cures for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and autism. A lawsuit over Junior Seau's suicide is being consolidated with other cases over concussions in the NFL. They're scheduled to be heard in Philadelphia next week. Seau's family says the former linebacker took violent hits throughout his career, resulting in traumatic brain injury and depression, leading to his suicide nearly a year ago. The other lawsuits say the NFL hid the dangers of repeated blows to the head. The league denies it. And the Customs and Border Protection Agency is postponing furloughs for its workers. The agency was expecting to sideline workers without pay as early as this week because of federal budget cuts, but it's getting a reprieve because of an appropriations bill recently signed by the president. Still, it's just a postponement. Union leaders say they expect furloughs will still take place. You can find tonight's stories and download the KPBS app all on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.